everyone, thanks for tuning into today's second video. So we've already done the second winter 2016-2017 forecast. You can find the video to that right now on the homepage. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out, it's on the homepage. And it's quite an interesting update this week. We are focusing particularly on El Nino and analogues in terms of whether we have a neutral winter 2016-2017 or whether in fact we finish up having a La Nina winter and the differences that could give us. So it's sound quite complicated, but it's all explained in the winter update. Do check it out and have a look, see what you think. It's going to be placed on the winter updates page later on this afternoon, probably around 6-7 o'clock this evening. There'll be a written post that goes with that as well, so you can't watch the video, you can read the written report. This is the second ECMWF interpretation from GazOvis.com. So this is completely new and unique to the website. We did the first one of these last month. It seemed to go down quite well. So I've got another one for you for this month. I'm hoping to keep this going through the remainder of the autumn up to the end of the year. So there's a little known fact about the ECMWF that as well as being a short to medium range model, and we do use the ECMWF for our weekly, or I should say daily, videos when we do our daily video musings. We have a look at the ECMWF out to day 10. But a little known fact that the ECMWF also has a seasonal long range model that extends 6 months out. Now this is highly restricted content. You can only see the ECMWF seasonal model updates if you're a pro forecaster or some sort of researcher, or you have a great deal of money to be able to see those charts. The general public, you and I, normally can't get to see these long range seasonal model charts. Somebody very, very kind sent me some of the long-range updates from the ECMWF last month, some of the long-range charts. And they've done the same for us this month. So very big thank you to that really kind person for doing that. Now, because this is restricted content, I can't show you those charts directly. Normally, I will put up the charts, you'll be able to see exactly what the model is showing, and then I'll tell you to go to the links page, click the link and go through to the website to see the charts for yourself. This is a completely different situation because the long range model is restricted. I can't show you what I've seen, so you really are getting something new and exclusive with this update. So very, very exclusive content. But what I can do for you is reinterpret the charts, but I think there's no reason I can't show you a reinterpretation of the charts. But I think that's what I'm going to do for you right now. So just say the temperature precipitation anomalies are too weak for me to be able to reinterpret. So I haven't got reinterpretation of those. The signals are too weak. Just no real signal for temperature and precipitation. So what we've got is 500 millibar heights and also mean sea level pressure anomalies. I'll show you my interpretation of those charts in a second. Before I get on with that, just say about the ads at GazOvis. There's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. Thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads to both pages which open up content when you watch them. They will close back up again, and it does all help to pay for GazWeatherVids.com. So I'm on the ECMWF website right now. This is it. This is the website for the ECMWF organisation. It's ecmwf.int. The link to this website is on the links page, but once you get here, you won't be able to see the long-range seasonal models. So I thought I'd just recap on what we saw last month. So this was the 500 millibar height anomaly for winter of 2016-2017. This is for the 3-month period from December 2016 through to February 2017. I tried to reinterpret it the same way. This is from last month, remember. So the idea, tried to reinterpret it the same way as normal. So the brighter colours extrapolating to above average heights, high pressure, the dark colours, blues extrapolating to below average heights low pressure. So the idea is that there was some sort of ridging around Iceland and Greenland, and then above average heights, high pressure extending down into the Atlantic and mid-Atlantic ridge, and then some sort of trough over into central parts of Europe. That's how the 500 millibar high anomaly looked last month. The mean sea level pressure anomaly looked like this, quite interesting. Again, placing high pressure up to the north, thus around Greenland and Iceland, extending a ridge down to north of Scotland. A trough of low pressure, I have to change the colour, sorry about that, a trough of low pressure across central parts of Europe, which would open the door to northerly, northeasterly influences. So we thought that's probably it wasn't a cold signal, but temperature anomalies weren't cold last month, but reading between the lines, there probably was a signal for some northern blocking there, and potentially at least some colder influences for us, and more cold influences perhaps for central parts of Europe. Well, I'm going to show you the 500 millibar height anomaly now. I'm going to show you November to January first, and then we'll have a look at December to February, because there is a little bit of a story emerging here. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly for November to January. This is November 2016 through to January 2017. And still got the same idea, look, a lot of red up to the north, so above average heights sitting up to the north, around Greenland, to the north of Iceland, to the north of Svalbard. And I can tell you that it does connect back into North Pole, which of course is going to be up here somewhere off screen. And then we have got above average heights again extending down to the west of the UK through this central part of the Atlantic. British Isles also in slightly above average heights, and then extends down in towards western parts of Europe. Also above average heights across Scandinavia, so a lot of high pressure influences going on. You get the idea that there is a lot of high pressure here to the north, to the west, to the east of Europe, and quite clearly then we've got this area just here through central parts of Europe, which isn't an area of below average heights, it isn't blue, but it's just sort of average type heights. And that could be a trough within the 500 millibar flow, albeit a fairly weak one. You remember last month, Central Europe was indicated to have a trough within the 500 millibar flow for the winter. It isn't going towards a trough now, it's just average heights. But compared to all this high pressure around here, I do question whether perhaps there is a trough of low pressure there across central parts of Europe. Now, this is for the early winter period, remember. It is quite a cold signal, perhaps, for northern Europe, particularly, so up towards Scandinavia, northeastern parts of Europe. I think that's quite a coldish signal there. Maybe a fairly warm signal down in the southeast of Europe. And then for Central Europe, I would have thought that's a fairly cool signal as well around that trough. Western parts of Europe, probably average temperatures, really, the way things are aligned just here. What we would really need to do to get a cold signal for the UK is to take this ridging further out, so move it somewhere towards mid-Atlantic, deepen this trough, and then extend the winds down from the north. As it is, it just looks like a fairly cool signal, really. Cool and very dry, perhaps for early winter. Now, this is how the actual 500 millibar height anomaly from the ECMWF seasonal model is looking this month. So this is the very latest interpretation for the winter of 2016-2017. This goes from December to February. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly from the ECMWF, or my interpretation of it, for this winter. So, again, what we see is that we've got a lot of red to the north, so we'll deal with that first of all, up towards Greenland, and then going over towards the north of Scandinavia, and perhaps extending down into western parts of Russia. We have got a signal for high pressure up there, and again, that does extend back up towards the North Pole. I can't show you the North Pole, but it extends back up towards the pole. Also got quite a big ridge being centred around Iceland and going down to the north west of the UK. And then the rest of northern and western Europe is in this orange area, which isn't the very highest of the heights, but it is generally above average height. So again, we have a signal here for a lot of anticyclonic influences this winter. Would be a lot of dry weather, I think, if this was to come off, and it could be cold for some places, but there is no temperature signal. That's why I am not including the temperature anomalies with this month's update, because there isn't really a temperature signal. That could just be because it's too far away for the model to really get an idea. Now, this ridging does extend further south, albeit more weakly, into central and some eastern parts of Europe. And then as we get through to the Mediterranean, it's just average with the height. So it does imply perhaps that there could be a bit of troughiness going on through the Mediterranean. But again, it's not below average height. It's not low pressure. And what you have to say, if you was to take anything from this, it's just that there's a huge amount of anticyclonic influences going on across virtually the whole of northern, central, western Europe this winter. Now, the fact that we've got so much red, so much blocking, this is northern blocking really, to the far north is interesting, to say the least. Remember, this is still a long way off. It's only September, so the model is sort of playing around with weather conditions that are several months away. So you'd expect the signal to be quite weak. And there is a follow-on here from what we saw last month in that, yes, there's quite a lot of northern blocking being signalled up here. There's also ridging being centred to the northwest of the UK. And then we've got this extensive area of above average heights across many parts of northern Europe that presumably is producing, at the very least, a lot of dry weather, but the temperatures are variable with this. But under these above average heights, under the high pressure, it certainly wouldn't be overly warm. So that's how the 500 metre heights are looking. What about the mean sea level pressure anomalies? So this again, November to January. This is the early winter period. And again, there are connections to what we was looking at last month. So we've got area of orange there around Greenland and Iceland, yellow extending down to the northwest of the UK into the Atlantic. So again, the idea is there that we've got some sort of mid-Atlantic ridge going on, perhaps tying back towards high pressure up towards Greenland and Iceland. Also, that's probably the Siberian high. I'm not sure we have to worry too much about that over towards central parts of Russia, western parts of Russia. But we've got above average heights to the north of Scandinavia as well. And then the rest of Europe, there isn't a huge amount going on. So again, you would suspect there's going to be a trough somewhere. You would be very unlikely to have all of this area with above average heights and then have no trough. So somewhere around here, and I would still place this around central parts of Europe, possibly into southern Scandinavia, just here. Somewhere you will think there is likely to be a trough that would be formed by cold air being pushed out by this area of above average heights. So it's a weak signal again, but the idea is still there, I think, that there is some sort of ridging, particularly to the north and to the west of the UK, albeit still is quite weak. That's for the early winter, November to January. This is how things are looking for the actual winter period. So this is the ECMWF mean sea level pressure anomaly for December to February. Remember, this is my interpretation. This isn't the actual chart by any means. It's a very, very basic. I'm not very good at art. I'm not an artist, so it's very basic interpretation of what I have witnessed. And for the actual winter period, it looks like the ridging that we have, if we just go back to November to January. So we've got most of the ridging up here to the north. If we go through to the actual winter period, December to February, it looks like that ridging has perhaps collapsed. So the ridge is more or less sitting over the UK, although we have got above average heights extending into many central parts of Europe. It also extends out into the Atlantic as well. Now, presumably running over top is the jet stream. So you presumably got westerlies going to the top of this. And then underneath all of this high pressure, I would have thought it's likely to be low pressure around the Mediterranean. So again, it's quite a complicated one. It's a fairly weak signal, but at the very least, I think what these charts are telling us is that there's likely to be a lot of anticyclonic influences this winter. It's very likely to be a dry winter, not just for the UK, but perhaps for many central, northern and western parts of Europe. It does look quite a drying signal there for the winter from this month's ECMWF model. But I have to say the anomaly, the actual precipitation anomaly, doesn't really show anything at all. But read between the lines, and very often that's what you have to do with these long-range models, particularly when they're so far away. It looks like, particularly for the early winter period, that November to January period, looks like we have still got the signal for some northern blocking and for high pressure to be generally sent to the north and west. So to get through to the actual winter period itself, it looks like the signal is more for that blocking, that high pressure, becomes centred around the UK and into many parts of Europe, which would lead to a very quiet winter. Would have quite a dryish winter, unusually compared to past few winters, which have tended to be pretty wet. This will be a very quiet winter. And it doesn't look, certainly from that mean sea level pressure anomaly anyway, it doesn't look overly cold. The early winter period, perhaps colder than the actual December to February period. So it's very basic, very early days with this. I hope you're able to follow things okay from the charts, but I've interpreted. The signals are weak, very weak signals. And there could be several reasons for that. We've got a really odd situation going on with the QBO right now, quasi-biennial oscillation. There's also ENSO, which is causing all sorts of problems, where we're going to have weak La Nina or just ENSO neutral. So there's several reasons why the signal is probably so weak. But there is, between all of that, quite a strong signal for a lot of anticyclonic influences, and particularly early winter, the high pressure to be centred to the northwest of the UK, which could deliver some colder conditions. Hopefully we have more to go on with next month's update. We'll be into October then, so hopefully the rooms will be clearing a little bit, and I'm hoping to be able to do another interpretation of the ECMWF seasonal model for you next month. Right, don't forget to check out the second winter update if you haven't yet done so. And, may I say, thanks very much for watching.